Welcome to the Forever Better Academy podcast, where you will be given the principles, tools, and techniques to reach the next stage on your journey of self-mastery. Who could you become? I'm your host, Wade Vincent. Hey guys, welcome back. This is Wade Vincent, and you are with me today on the Forever Better Academy podcast, episode 80. So if you don't take control of your life, someone else will happily do it for you. And I can promise you this, I've been in this situation, and I know which scenario I prefer, and I'm going to share with you guys today a bit of the experience and the story and some of my background and how I've came to learn these tools and techniques and principles that I'm sharing with you in the hopes that they give you what you need to improve and grow with your own journey of self-mastery, right? So today, as I say, control your life or someone else will, right? So when I started my journey, very much I was and I would honestly say it really came from being in a very privileged position to begin with, right? Now, if we're going to be, totally extremely honest, and this is important, right? To go through this, I have to tell you my story and the things that I've experienced without hiding things, because it's important to give you the full picture, right? So when I started out, I grew up in a single parent family, divorced parents, father wasn't there at all, mum trying to work in a male dominated job and going through all the usual challenges that women are still facing today, right, in that scenario. And with everything going on and not having a lot of money and still being struggling, and I class this as a poorer family, on sort of welfare and getting support, from places like Salvation Army and the government and whatnot. I still live in Australia. I'm a white male, and that situation is far worse for other people in different parts of the world. And in the sense, you can still live securely and comfortably, and there's a fantastic level of support in Australia, right, for its people. And I think because there's that element of comfort to go off the back of the last episode, right, about escaping your comfort zone, it's easy to be complacent and get caught up and stuck in that routine, and that it's just comfortable enough that it doesn't motivate you to change it, and it's just uncomfortable enough to be frustrating, and you've got to do something, but you're right in that little weird middle ground where you sort of, you can get by, but it's a bit of a pain, and it's challenging, and that you could have a better life, right? So very much that was my scenario, where after school I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, and like many of us, and I became a chef. I got an apprenticeship as a chef, purely because I was sick and tired of not having work, and I just wanted anything. I didn't care. It wasn't that I had this lifelong ambition to be a chef. I just needed money. I needed to start learning how to support myself as a man, right? And when I did that, there's no money in it. Like the apprenticeships unless I feel like it would be more beneficial to start an apprenticeship. In Australia, you can leave school in grade 10 and commence a trade. But I finished year 12 and then started my trade 1 year after finishing year 12, when I was about 19 years old, something around that range, or just about. So typically the wages are very low, and it's easier to start at like 15 and be finished by 19. And I'm starting at 19, and at the time I was working 60 plus hours a week, 6 days a week, and after tax taking home $184 a week. Like, just, I look back on it now and it's mind blowing to me. Like, that's, you have to be a kid living at home to afford to to live like that. You can't. It's not a livable wage. And so one of my friends at the time was driving trucks, doing furniture removals, and told me how much money he was earning. And when you're earning $184 a week, $500 sounds amazing, right? So I straight away, and actually this is the early days when my wife was just pregnant with our first boy, and I needed to do something about it. I was finished my apprenticeship at that point, but I wasn't earning great money, and I was working long hours and just all night shifts and split shifts and weekends, and it's no life to have when you're about to start a young family and you're never there, right? So went out, got my truck license, and started doing furniture removal myself, and straight away was instantly making what I thought was great money. I could make $1,000 a week. This is incredible, and I was selling my time, just hours, putting in hours, and it got to that point where I was earning more money, but I was still in that situation where I was selling my time and never there. Like, I remember doing moves when my wife was pregnant at home on her own. We had no family around, and I'd go to work and I'd start at 6 in the morning, and sometimes I'd be doing 3 or 4 house moves in a day, like loading like packing up a house's possessions, belongings, moving them to a new house and unpacking all their stuff. And I do 3 or 4 of those in a day. And there's times where I was coming home at like 11 o'clock at night, just burnt out, like, just, it's the youthful folly of a young man with a lot of strength and not a lot of skills and knowledge to know better, right? So that was my situation. And I was really at the whim of everyone else, right? When you have a very limited skill set, and my only talent or ability, if you will, was possessing a truck license and being able to pick up things, right? Like, anyone can do that. Men, women, young and old, like, anyone can do that role. It is not highly sought after. There's no shortage of people that can do that. I liken it to, I would probably say it's one of those roles where it's the best money you can earn with no skills. Like, if you just are a functional human being and can show up every day, that's probably some of the best money you can earn with no real skill set, right? And I'm not talking down on anyone. Please don't think that, because this is my journey. Like, this is what I did. This is the experience in life I live. So I don't frown upon anyone in these roles, because I lived it, and it definitely at the time served my family and got us at least on the milestones, stepping stones, and stages to get me to where I am now, right? So I was so desperate for money that I was very much in that position where I couldn't afford not to show up, right? Like, I'm doing these long hours. We've pregnant with our first child. We've just moved into our own little apartment. We're renting. We have no furniture. We have no fridge. We don't have anything. We're like absolutely starting from scratch, right? We've both just we're living with our parents, dating, find out, we're having a baby, and we just had to figure it out. We had to, make it work. And when you're in that situation, there's a lot of pressure, because you have to go through some stuff to make it all come together and work. And at that point, I was completely under the control of everyone else. In my roles in work and just in life in general. I didn't have what I needed to gain control of my life and provide for our family in a way that I could oversee and control the opportunities and the freedoms that we are seeking. So when you're in that position, I can remember waking up at like 4:30 some mornings, to start at 5 o'clock, depending what run I was on or what we had ahead for the day. And just sleeping like 4 hours and going to work and having another 10 to 14 hour shift is it's hard. And you wake up, and I remember dragging myself out of bed and just sort of, washing my face, get in the shower and jump in the car and go to work, and then I'd get in the truck, and then I'd drive to a petrol station and get a coffee and try to come to life to manage this, right? And it was the source of a lot of frustration and angst and pain in my life, to where I was in that, as I spoke of, that sort of awkward middle ground where it's comfortable enough that you can survive on that for a small amount of time, but as inflation rises and costs and expenses of living go up, and the price of houses and wages don't rise in the same sort of in the same capacity, it's unlivable. You always have to be dynamic and continually moving and improving your skill set and growing and being able to navigate the new challenges that life will ultimately present to you. So when I'm in that situation, and I'm just grinding away, like trying to make it happen and make it work. I very much just had to do what anyone told me, and it was very much that scenario. And I had friends at the time in that same space who would have that frustration and always talk about it. It's like this feeling like you're like a sense of modern day slavery, right? In that, at the time I didn't understand this. I just was like frustrated, like, yeah, we're under control from other people, and it was because we didn't take control of our own lives. And that's the message. What I want to speak to you guys through today is really, as I say, control your life, or someone else will happily do it for you, right? And there's this, as I say, this comfort zone, right? You're just in this realm of like, you've got to get to the tipping point, and I find the thing that makes everything shift is that you become so frustrated with where you are or what's occurring, that you won't tolerate it anymore. You have to have been fed up and had enough, right? And that ties into like earlier concepts I've spoken on in previous episodes of, committing to the decision. And at that point, I was very much like, enough. I've had enough of this. I've got to do something about it, right? And I wanted so badly to regain control of my own life. It was the most frustrating aspect that led me down the path of going into the doctor and telling them about how I feel, and breaking down crying, and just being burnt out physically and mentally, emotionally distressed, and struggling and tired. And I would I'd basically use up every sick day I had. I'd call in sick so often that work would tell me, and they're like, is something wrong with you? Are you unhealthy? Have you got other complications or problems you're not telling us about? Because there was days I couldn't bear to get out of bed. And that added fuel to that fire of I couldn't afford not to do that. I couldn't afford to do that. And if I didn't go to work and didn't have sick days to cover me, like, I was losing money. And it gets to a very scary point when you're forced to do something because you haven't done anything about your situation to give you options and choices otherwise, and you don't want to be there, and you're fighting against this angst and this frustration where you don't want to go, but you know that you have to, and you just continually have to go through it. And if you don't change your situation won't change, right? So I wanted control, right? I wanted to have freedom to make decisions in my life, and just have choice, have options, be able to decide, how I'm going to use my time. This is the one life we have, right? And this is why this is so important that I stress this, and I created Forever Better Academy, because I don't want anyone to suffer unnecessarily through those challenges and feel like they're stuck. There's choices, there's options, there's ways out of this, and that's why I share these stories with you guys, right? And I had so much of that pressure building up on me that was just, I was angry at everything. Like I'm sure my wife will tell you stories. Like I was not a great partner at all. Like I wasn't, I wasn't. My kids still say, that was a lot of fun when I was, when they were young, and they thought I was, sort of playful and silly. And I think that's where a lot of my only happiness in that point came from, was having my little family, is that kept me sane, right? And but like honestly, I don't think I was a good father. I don't think I was a good husband. I know I wasn't, the best employee. I was a pain in the ass. I was argumentative. I was angry at everyone around me in the world, and basically projecting, right? And it was how I felt about myself, and that really helped me to understand um, when people do stuff like that, how I try to approach it in a different way, because I understand that's how they feel about themselves. It's not that if they necessarily hate things in the world. It usually stems from a feeling internally that they have, and this is most certainly what I had. Is I didn't like who I was. I was angry because I wasn't mature enough at the time to really face it and understand that my situation was of my own doing. Right? I hadn't furthered my education. I finished school, and I didn't read another book at all until I started this journey for, God knows, like 15 years maybe. I didn't try to understand new things in life. I didn't learn about people. I didn't learn about finances. I didn't learn about relationships. I was cruising and coasting, and really, as I say, in that comfortable, privileged position, a white male in Australia, and I just, didn't put enough effort in, didn't get my ass into gear and do what I needed to do as a man, right? And I had this anger at everyone, and I can look back on it now, right? And hindsight is a beautiful thing, and I can see the anger, because I was so disappointed in myself. I had every opportunity, and I had ability. I'm young and healthy, and I could have done something about it, and I didn't. And it got so bad to a point where I couldn't ignore it any longer. It was the most frustrating way to live. Like, it was a horrible way to live, right? Just being miserable and bitter every day, and selling all my time, having no effort to improve myself, no energy left, wasn't great in my relationships, and was not earning enough money to survive. Like, of course I'm going to be angry. I'm miserable, right? Like, that's not a great way to live, right? You can't sustain that. That's a wasted life. And we only have this one life, and it's so precious, and we can do so much with it, but it requires us to get up and do something with it, right? And that's where I was. And the real obstacle was I had no skills. And I understand now, like, I had to master sought after skills. And that's all it comes down to, right? As I said, anyone can drive a truck. Go and get a truck license. Do your test. It's simple, right? Like, once you've got that license, it's just a little plastic card that someone else says, yes, you're capable. And then you can do that. Anyone can have that license. Anyone, right? Now, I had to master sought after in-demand skills. And I started my journey and understanding, and for those of you, if you've listened to older episodes of the podcast, go listen to the episode. I think I call it "Busy as a Bee," and it talks about just this sort of turning point scenario when I had this very strange experience with nature and these little bees, and it made me realize the path that I was heading down, and so go listen to that episode, okay? And I knew when I started with podcasts, reading books every day. I'd take a book to work in the truck, and I'd read at lunch for an hour, half an hour every single day, right? And I'd listen to podcasts with great minds and different ideas and concepts, and basically remove all the incorrect or ill-serving programming and conditioning that I had created in myself over the course of 30 odd years, and start filling my mind and changing how I approach life by copying and using all this information and abundant resources available to me to understand the correct patterns and how to live a successful and meaningful and purposeful life. So each day, right, I would take the book, I would put on the podcasts, and I would start with just a little bit, right? Just you got to start at the beginning. And I've said this in lots of episodes. That one of my chefs, when I used to work under George at a cafe called Tempo back in the day at West End, and he used to say to me, "You cannot speed the cooking process, right? These things take the time they take. You cannot rush it. It's a reaction, a chemical process that occurs that needs to happen, right?" And so I just started with a little bit, right? And one of my favorite sayings is start where you are with what you have and do what you can, right? And that's all it is. You don't need to, you can't create more obstacles for yourself. When you're in a position where you need to regain control in your life, you cannot reside to oh well, if I had this I would do it, if I had connections to this person, or if I had enough money to go back to school. Like, you can't think like that. You're getting trapped in that perpetual sort of self-fulfilling prophecy of never achieving. You have to take control of your life, and the key way to take control of your life is to take control of your decisions. And once you've learned to take control of your decisions, you take control of your actions. It's that simple. Okay? So when I started to do that, I was making better decisions. I understood. I'd started to see better ways to live, better ways to think, better ways to act, better ways to contribute. And I started to understand and have different thoughts. And then I understood, now I've been gifted with this information. Now I have to do something with it, right? So I committed to taking action, utilizing that information I've been given. Do something with it. Again, right? Your situation won't change unless you change your situation. So I started with the podcasts. I was listening as I drove. I had freedom. I was thankful that I was in a position where I'm in a truck alone for my entirety of the day, other than when I stopped to do a delivery. This is later when I was driving trucks in sort of food service and general freight. Other than going in and delivering something and interacting with a human, I was on my own, and I was able to regain that time or repurpose that time, right? I could have argued and said, "Oh, this is all too hard. I'm working all day. I'm driving for 12 hours. It's been a massive day. I don't want to do any work when I get home. I want to put my feet up." And yeah, I understand. Like, it's hard work. Yeah, you need to rest. But if I didn't do something about it, I'd still be in that position now. And that's far more difficult and challenging and harder than putting in a little bit of extra work each day when you're tired. You have to earn it, right? You've got to earn your freedom and earn that ability to control your life. So I was reading, as I say, every little bit every day, right? Just taking that time, taking it back, right? And the hardest part, as I say, the life is still going on. When you're going through this journey, the sooner that you start, the sooner that you engage and begin to work on building the best version of yourself and who you can become, the easier it is, right? It's much easier if you're, reading books at 16, 17, you live at home, you don't have children or bills and lots of other crazy stuff to take your attention and effort. You start then. It's a lot easier than starting, when I did in my 30s and trying to support a family with 2 children and work long hours and still manage. Like, it's not impossible, but it's not as easy as it could have been, right? And I think that was my frustration. As I said, I was so angry with myself because I made it harder on myself because I didn't do anything about it sooner. So, as I say, I still had to face that situation, right? You gotta be real about where you are. Where are you in life? It might not be ideal, and someone else might have a better opportunity or more tools or things available to them. But forget that person. You can't do anything about that. It's your life, your situation, and what are you going to do about it? What can you do about it, and how are you going to go about doing something, right? And because of this, ultimately, I was able to generate opportunities for our family. I was able to secure control back over my own life again, right? I I knew when I said the skills, what are those in-demand skills? And going through the podcast and listening and reading books, and the first thing that came to mind, and maybe it was instinctual because now I realize, looking back, my family is full of salesmen and business people, and didn't understand some of our ancestry and who my family was. And I just had this gut thing to learn sales. I'm like, it's a life skill. I must learn how to sell, right? It's persuasion, it's negotiation, it's interact. It's human interactions, right? Psychology and human behavior. Like these are just critical life skills beyond a job. This is just stuff that everyone should learn, right? So I learned how to sell, and it's like a game changer. It enabled me to, the saying, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, and you feed him for a lifetime, right? If you know how to sell, like, I now have a skill that is highly sought after and in demand, and has been since the beginning of time and will be forevermore, right? Like, pick something that is sought after and in demand, and chip away at it every little bit, a little bit each day. Find out what that skill is that's sought after, something that's adjacent with your interests, and take action every single day, right? It's far less painful than waking up and knowing that someone else controls your life, someone else owns your decisions, someone else owns you, right? That's that frustration, and now I'm in a far better position. I'm able to generate more wealth for our family. I have better understanding of how to be a better father and a better husband, and just a greater contributing member of society. And I understand how to be less selfish. Only good comes from taking control of your life, because the key real thing is, when you control your life, when you're taking control and responsibility, which is key, when you're taking responsibility of your own life, you take that burden off someone else, right? And it's something I didn't consider when I'm sitting back complaining about not having control of my own life. Someone else has to manage me. Someone who's already got their own life, their own families, their own challenges and obstacles that they have to overcome, has to get me productive and help me to support my family, provide for my family, because I'm not taking care of myself. The one of the greatest, most impactful things that you can do that will change the world, change your world, and just as a society as a whole, how we operate, is taking responsibility for yourself and taking control of your own life. All right, guys, I appreciate you being here. I hope this one has given you some valuable insights that you can take and action today. Do something with this information. And as always, who could you become? This is Wade Vincent. Thank you for being here with me. If you are on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and hit the notification button so you know when I release new videos. And until next time, please stay safe, look after yourself, and become the best version of yourself you can be. All right, guys. See you next week.